Burning Issy, Melvin Burgess, Chapter 14. I was saying, I couldn't help it, over and over again. Ian sat me down and gave me something to drink, and there must have been something in it because I stopped shaking almost at once. She looked into my face and nodded, and then flopped down next to me in a chair. Issy girl, she said, if you ever lose your temper with me, let me know so I can get well away. Then she giggled. Did you see his face when he was flying backwards? I thought you were going to knock him all the way back to Pendle. And the horse, I've never seen an animal look so surprised. She began to laugh, but when she looked across at me and saw my face, she stopped. I couldn't help it. It just happened, I told her. You have great gifts. You have to learn to control them. I didn't do anything, I insisted. You saved my life. It wasn't me. The horse just fell. He must have overbalanced. He was frightened, wasn't he? I babbled, but it was no use. I couldn't even convince myself. I saw the fire, the dream fire, I said. It was there the whole time. Ian nodded. The fire is the key to your strength, she told me. It stands between you and the talents God has given you. Then it's true, isn't it? I am a witch, just like they say. Ian scoffed. What's a witch? Someone who digs up dead people and makes ointment out of babies and curses on his neighbours for not doing as they're told. You don't do any of those things, do you? But I can do things. And you. He said you're a witch. He said everyone knows it. Do you think I'm a witch? I cried. I don't know. What makes a witch? Tell me that. I knew the answer to that one. Someone who has sold their soul to the devil. I can promise you that I'm not one of them. Never have been, never will be, and neither are you, no matter what ignorant people say. I have nothing to do with the devil, and I have nothing to do with harm. But those things I saw in your garden, what are they? And what did I do just then? I don't understand, I begged. What does the fire mean? And what did he mean about your hands? When I mentioned her hands, Ian lifted them up and cradled them to her breast as if she were holding a little bird or some other delicate thing. When I reached out and took one of them in mine, she flinched but didn't stop me. I took off the loose woolen underglove that she always wore. There were little ridges and bumps all on the bones of her fingers, and I realised they'd once been broken, each finger many times. There was something else that was odd, and it took a moment to notice. Ian had no fingernails. Poor Ian, I said without thinking. I lifted a hand and kissed it. I was accused of witchcraft once before, she said. Her voice seemed to have gone tiny and thin like a frightened little girl. I carefully placed the hand back in her lap and she put her glove back on. If you ever fall into their hands, she said in the same little voice, remember what I tell you now. You must confess to whatever they ask you. About yourself, about me, about Nat, about Gil, about anyone and anything. No one is loyal in the torture chamber. All you can hope for is to be lucky and win a quick death. You didn't confess though, I said. She smiled thinly. I confessed, she said. Ian refused to tell me any more about what happened to her, or me, in Scotland when I was still a baby. But that evening, Tolly came round to eat our evening meal with us, and they told me about themselves and what they were. She was a witch, after all, she said. She insisted that I was different. She insisted that it was different with her, not like Demdike's brood. Demdike and her kind were all debased witches, witches who had forgotten why they were here, what they were, and what they were for, and even who they worshipped. The true God of the witches was not the devil, she said, and he had nothing to do with evil. I remember the words of Parson Holden, "Never forget the cunning of the devil." I must have looked doubtful, because she sighed and shook her head. He's not like that. They just want to make an enemy out of him. Doesn't the Christian God say himself that he is a jealous God? Our God has no arguments with anyone. He simply is what he is. He's not just the God of men and women, but the God of the fields and the trees and the birds and the animals, all of the living things. All of the things worship him. He is the God of life and death. Now, only the beasts and the plants still know him. People have forgotten. There are so few of us left. Most of the witches are like Demdike. When there was no one left to remember him, then mankind will have lost all touch with nature, and they will begin to destroy the world. The god had once been worshipped all over Europe, she told me. First the pagan gods had pushed him to one side, and then the Christians came and they tried to turn him into their devil and discredit him and make an enemy of him. Demdike and her like had come to believe these lies. Now they thought that they worshipped the maker of evil. That was why I saw the faces and the shapes in the garden, because this was a place where the spirits were not just of people, but of plants and animals that came alive for those who could see. As for those Thursday nights, it was a Sabbath they went to, but not the Sabbath of Demdike with the waxen images and curses. "Dancing, singing, we have a party," smiled Tolly. "You'll see for yourself one day." It was clear that they regarded me as one of them. I had the same gifts they had, the gifts of their gods, gifts of healing, of harming, of seeing. "There's no good or bad in it," explained Arhan. "Just as you can lead a good life or a bad life, you can use your power for good or for bad. Demdike chose bad, we the good. I hope you will too." I went to bed with a great deal on my mind that night. Someone was deceived. Was it Parson Holden or Arhan? I had no way of knowing. End of chapter 14.